And hello again, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Sports Central Saturday. I'm Jim Hill, joined by former USC running back Stafon Johnson. You just saw it right here on CBS 2, Alabama taking care of Ole Miss 30-24. That was one heck of a game.
Oh, yeah, man. Ole Miss came out with all bullets firing, and Alabama had to really take in consideration of who they were and not harper on the loss from last week and try to get a win out in Ole Miss.
You know, in a way, Alabama kind of reminds me of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, they were the champions. Everybody's trying to knock them down and beat them up and things like that.
That's what makes you champions. You know, when you have that X on your back and you have these people that's trying to get to you and trying to take you down for being at the top, and to be resilient enough to be able to come up with W's and wins, coming from behind in this game right here, it was a beautiful thing for them to get that W out of there.
Better believe it, that is for sure. Back and forth contest, that's for sure. But the Alabama defense stands tall in the red zone with the game on the line. This is absolutely one amazing thing. And reigning Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young comes through for Alabama.
Yeah, I think Dart and Young had a very some of the similar games. I think that Bryce Young definitely showed, you know, his Heisman touch, and at the end of the game, he showed who we are and separated himself from everybody else. And
when you talk about him separating him, he's overcome a lot just to get into this position.
Absolutely. I think their defense is struggling right now. Was trying to stop the run, but you know, him coming in and being able to have that keep him close enough to be able to win this game was very big for him.
There are a lot of big games coming up this next week, aren't there?
Oh yeah, it's going to be really exciting. I don't want to talk about one right now, but we're going to stick on this one. We're going to stick to this one right now.
If he gets a little edgy, here's the reason why. The crosstown rivalry game looms next Saturday in Pasadena. But before the big one, how about this? The Bruins get set to host Arizona tonight at the Rose Bowl. The Bruins are coming off that 50-36 victory last week in Tempe against Arizona State. They're now 8-1 on the season as they head into this evening's contest against the Wildcats. And this is another night game for the Bruins, which really doesn't exactly thrill head coach Chip Kelly.
Pac-12 in the dark. That's the new hashtag. So we find out 6 days. We don't know when we're playing. So we're in the dark then, and then we play late at night, so we're in the dark there. So Pac-12 in the dark. And the biggest thing for me, we don't care what time we play, it's just the exposure. You know, you had a team run for 400 yards last Saturday night, and no one knows about it. You know, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to see it, does it make a noise? You know, so I just hope that we got a good football team, and I hope people get a chance to see us play.
All right, when you think about it, my friends, the Bruins are right in the hunt in the Pac-12 and are ranked 12th in the country in the college football rankings, and 9th overall in the Associated Press poll. That's behind Oregon, who is unbeaten in conference play, and their crosstown rival as the Bruins try and keep pace with a victory this evening. And when we think about it, you know what? The Bruins just continue to get so much offense from their quarterback, and Darian Thompson-Robinson. He really is everything that's positive that's being said about him is all that and then some.
Absolutely. I mean, for him to be able to attack you with his arm and then to come back with a 1-2 punch with him and Cabernet, it's a beautiful thing to see him actually dictate and put his emphasis on the game each week in and week out.
Does it kind of worry you a little bit about it that he runs as much as he does?
No, I think that's the name. That's how the game has changed. You know, you have the Lamar Jacksons of the world. You have these different quarterbacks that can hurt you on different aspects of the game. I watched Mahomes win the game with his feet, you know, last week. So to be able to come back with just not only your arm but on his feet, it makes it difficult to hone in on him on the defensive end.
And what about that Bruin defense holding up, especially what's coming up this week?
Yeah, their defense is definitely they would need them this week. You know, Arizona has a young football team and they're firing right now, and I really like they're very dangerous, and you have to make sure you stay on top of them and don't let them get going and give them like any kind of confidence.
Because a lot of times your defense sometimes will try to do too much, and when you try to do too much, that's when you make a mistake.
You try to do some things, you try to take away a lot of the big plays, but like I said, Arizona has some great young talent that they can definitely get some big plays in there, and if you can stop those, you definitely have a good chance of winning the football game.
And it's going to be a lot of fun watching them, that is for sure. All right, my friends, we are just getting started on this edition of Sports Central as the Trojans now look ahead to the crosstown rivalry game coming off that dominant performance. We'll look back and discuss last night's easy win over Colorado. Also, we've got much more on the big games today in college football, including LSU struggling today against Arkansas. And Bo Jackson was certainly one of the most special athletes that we have ever seen. Our special guest, Jeff Pearlman, joins us today to talk about his latest book called The Last Folk Hero, The Life and myth of Bo Jackson when we come back.
Sports Central is sponsored by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Good times.
Oh, yeah, Stafon likes this, doesn't he? A great time at USC right now as the Trojans continue to rack up the victories under new head coach Lincoln Riley. And last night was really no different, my friends. The 8th-ranked Trojans really took care of Colorado at the Coliseum, 55-17. Another big game from the Trojan offense as Caleb Williams threw for 3 touchdowns and ran for another 2. They are now 9-1 coming into next Saturday's crosstown rivalry game with plenty of momentum.
9th win. Had some really cool times of the team surging on all 3 sides, which we said was going to be a big deal, and thought our guys responded and did it.
We put in a lot of work as a group, myself included, and so focus on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, how many ever touchdowns isn't my goal. My goal every single week is to help the Trojans go 1-0.
Played really well early in the football game. So yeah, was proud of the defensive effort. We played like we expected we would play, and so yeah, I mean each game's its own journey. Now we get a chance to reset. We got a little bit of a long week and a chance to reset and get ready to go play those guys across town.
See, it's already started. The Trojans looking pretty good right now as they get set to take on UCLA, and that will be next week. But on the injury front, bad news for USC as their leading rusher, Travis Dye, is now out for the season after suffering a lower leg injury, and that was on yesterday. And I know you really hate to see these kinds of things happen.
Absolutely. With a struggling defense that we have, and the running game is very imperative, and be able to establish that early on. And losing Travis is very devastating. We're going to need the youngsters like Malik and the other backs that took over last night after his injury to step up and show what you can do. And I think this is a great chance, a great opportunity to let them show what they can do. And that's what they recruited them for. So now it's time to turn up a little bit.
And this is one of the big games why SC has Lincoln Riley here.
Absolutely. I think this is why we brought him in, especially for big games like this. Chip Kelly's done a wonderful job up there recruiting and using the transfer portal to make his team much better on both sides of the football. So now you have Lincoln to come in and put his touch to it and not allow Travis Dye to be so much of an impact so that we can be able to win this football game.
And now this game coming up next week kind of takes us back to the really heyday of SC and UCLA when not only the conference championship, but maybe the bowl game, the Rose Bowl, was at stake as well.
Absolutely. I think this is where all the chips are all on the board right now, and this is something that it really is a lot of the stake, not only just the rivalry of amongst the two, but championship, to go to the championship and to show, all the things that they've been putting in. They possibly can both be 9-1 and 8-1 at the same time. So this would be a great game, and it's all gearing up to be a good one.
It's just the beginning. All week long, we're going to be talking about it next week. That is for sure. All right, my friends, more college football now as we check in with the second-ranked team in the country, Ohio State. They had some trouble last week against a bad Northwestern team, and they tried to put it together, a better effort today against Indiana. Here we go in the 96th meeting between the two. The Buckeyes have racked up 27 straight wins against the Hoosiers, up 14-0 in the first quarter. C.J. Stroud drops back and finds Marvin Harrison Jr. wide open over the middle for the 58-yard touchdown. Buckeyes are up now 21-0. Now up 28-7. Here we go, third quarter. Indiana at 4th and 17, punting from their own 30-yard line. Lathan Ransom gets to the backfield and blocks the punt, Stefan. That's a big play for them.
Special teams wins games. To be able to get touchdowns and get turnovers on downs on special teams is really huge.
And how did that help? 2 plays later on 2nd and goal, C.J. Stroud looks left and tosses it to Cade Stover for the touchdown. Stroud finished with 297 yards and 5 touchdowns as the Buckeyes win big, 56-14.
I think that one of the things that's been our strength is our depth this year. You look at early on, it was the corners. We lost Jackson early on. We've had a couple guys hurt at running back. You saw Xavier step up. You saw Dallin play. So I think that's been one of our strengths this year is our depth. Every week is a new season, and we have to regroup and build for Maryland and just keep growing. We want to be playing our best football here in November.
All right, my friends, we're going to go to Ann Arbor, where the Michigan Wolverines hosted Nebraska in the snowy conditions. Scoreless in the first on Michigan's opening drive. Blake Corum punches it in from the 2-yard line for the score. That is the 10th straight week he's found the end zone for a rushing score, and the Wolverines lead 7-0. Now, Michigan now is up 17-3 in the third. McCarthy will take it in himself for the score. He tossed for 129 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Michigan leads it 24-3 in the fourth. McCarthy connects with Ronnie Bell for the second time on the day. Bell makes his way down the sidelines, but he fumbles the ball just before crossing the goal line. Luckily for him, Adriel Anthony recovers it for the score. Michigan wins it 34-3, improving to 10-0 for the first time since 2006. How about Brian Kelly and the Tigers are really coming off a big win against Alabama. We pick it up in the third quarter. LSU leads at 6-3. Jaden Daniels finds Kashan Butte over the middle for a gain of 26 yards. LSU would score on a 1-yard touchdown on the very next play to extend the lead to 13-3. But the Razorbacks weren't done. Not yet. Fourth quarter, same score. Backup quarterback Cade Fortin connects with Matt Landers for a 40-yard touchdown. Arkansas trails at 13-10. Last chance now for Arkansas with 1:27 left in the game. And the Tigers come up with a big defensive play, Stafon.
Yeah, this defensive lineman, I can't think of his name right now, but he had a heck of a game. I think he had the 3 of those same strips. He's a true freshman. He did a wonderful job today for them to get the seal the game up.
He got the attention of a lot of people, that is for sure. And LSU wins it by a score of 13-10. They move on to 8-2 on the year. All right, Stefan, LSU is really having some problems today against Arkansas. You know, there is no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas came in with their backup quarterback, and they still hung in there and fought and was able to try to win the game at the end.
And when you play it with teams like that, and I'm sure you did when you were over at USC, you know, sometimes your teammates can come around and kind of boost you and get you going as well.
It's nothing like interconference games. You know, every week you have to come to play because you never know. You know, these teams have been playing you year in and year out, and they kind of know exactly what you're trying to do. So you got to be able to execute on all phases of the football game in order to get these type of wins.
This is where team bonding really can really come through because of the things that you do, like during the off season, having barbecues and all these other things. That's when this comes into place.
We talked about it before and later on in our season when we said it's all about the culture. You know, buying into the culture, buying into what the coaches believe in, what the players believe in, and it's all like an orchestra. Once everybody's on the same symphony, it's a beautiful sound.
Yeah, we all like that. That is for sure. All right, my friends, stay right where you are because he perhaps is the greatest athlete in sports history, and a new book features the incredible Bo Jackson. Author Jeff Pearlman joins us in studio to talk about the book and so much more when we come back. Plus, the Lakers continued their dreadful season with yet another loss last night against the Sacramento Kings. All that and more when we come back right here on CBS 2.
Playing with Passion, sponsored by Pacifico.
Play the clock where you get 2 possessions, they get 1. Step 3. Got it! Oh, how good is Steph Curry? He hit him with the sleeper.
Welcome back, everybody. The Nets are in town this weekend, but Kyrie Irving will not be in action. Coach Jacques Vaughn ruled him out of tomorrow's game against the Lakers as he serves a team-imposed suspension for social media posts related to anti-Semitism. And it was another evening to forget for the Lakers yesterday. No LeBron James after hurting his groin on Wednesday against the Clippers. But the Lake Show still had a lead going into the fourth quarter. But the Kings outscored them 33-26 down the stretch and a 120-114 victory. The Lakers now have the worst, get this, the worst record in the NBA at 2-10.
There's no worse feeling than losing, especially when you put a lot of time and effort into the game and when you really love it. So it's a long season. Got to stay optimistic. We can't hang our heads down.
You know, as a staff, we just got to continue to grind it out and work, find the combinations that work. But the overall message was just, you know, maintaining, sustaining our competitive edge, at the end of the day, we all just got to be on the same page, be together, compete together, and be accountable. And me at the top of that list.
Now, our guest in the studio right now has written quite a bit about the Lakers over the years. But Jeff Pearlman's latest book centers on one of the greatest two sports stars ever. It's called The Last Folk Hero, The Life and Myth of Bo Jackson. Jeff, Bo was certainly an athlete, when we talk about it, that we've never seen before and likely probably will never see anything like this in the future.
Here's how I say it. He ran a 4.13 40 at Auburn, right? He came to the Raiders, and he ran a, Tom Flores was a coach in '87 when Bo arrived. He had him run a 40 on grass. He ran a 4.19. They didn't believe it. They had him do it again, and he ran a 4.17 on grass in pads. He's a two-time decathlon state champion in the state of Alabama. I mean, it's unbelievable.
People saw my head going and shot right there because I was looking at trying to hold up the book right here, because this is an amazing, and for people who have ever had a chance to meet him, they are in awe when they meet him, and they come away even more in awe.
Yeah. Well, he's the thing that's cool about Bo is he kind of vanished. Like, you don't see him talking about, oh, I'm better than this guy. You don't see him on TV blasting current athletes. The whole mythology of Bo is that he came, he did this thing, he got hurt very quick. He had 2 seasons on an artificial hip, and then poof, just gone. Yeah. And I think that's amazing.
I remember when he got hurt. It was amazing because he was with the Raiders, and it was at the Coliseum. And anybody who knows anything about football injuries, dislocating a hip is one of the most painful things that you can ever go through. And how he managed to try to continue after that is absolutely superhuman.
No, yeah. So he suffered something called a vascular necrosis, which basically is his hip died because the blood was all cut off. And his ability to play 2 years on an play Major League Baseball 2 years on an artificial hip, and the hip was basically plastic with metal bolts, is one of the great achievements of all time that nobody talks about.
How long did it take you to write this book?
About 2.5 years. Yeah.
That's really incredible.
Is it? I don't know. I guess so.
No, but I'd like you to talk about, what went into 2.5 years of writing a book about Bo Jackson.
720 interviews. I got really lucky early on. Dick Schaap wrote his autobiography, Bo Knows Bo, in 1990. And before Dick Schaap died, he donated all the audio tapes of their interview sessions, all the notes, everything, to the Auburn Library. And the Auburn Library gave me all this stuff. So all of a sudden I'm listening to all these interviews Bo Jackson did in 1990 with Dick Schaap, most of which never appeared in the original book. So it was a gold mine of going to Bessemer, Alabama, going to Auburn, digging in the libraries. I kind of live for this stuff. Yeah, I do.
Do you think we'll ever see someone that comes close to Bo Jackson again?
So you're here. Would you say Ohtani? Can you make the argument Shohei Ohtani is kind of an interesting parallel? Because that's as close as I think we'll get. Because, and I know, like, people don't multi-sport anymore. A kid comes up at 6 years old, he can run fast, and they enroll him in football, and they won't let him play any other sports. Bo Jackson was playing all these sports as a kid, so he was made to do multiple sports. Nowadays, we force-feed our kids into individual sports, and we never let them experiment. So no, probably not.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. The last folk hero, that is for sure. And when we think about Bo Jackson, one of the other projects that he has been doing and talking about so much this year recently is a book called Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. It was made in a TV series, and that's another project that you had a great deal of, I don't want to say fun, but it really captured your imagination.
Oh, man. Let me tell you something. If you ever write a book, and HBO comes to you and they say, we want to turn your book into a TV series, and we're going to have Sally Field in it and Adrian Brody and all these guys, always say yes. It's been like a dream for me. It's been like the greatest thing ever. And these things don't happen to writers like me. I'm just some scrub writer from New York, and I got this dream.
No. Let's correct that right now. You're not a scrub writer.
Mediocre writer.
No, not you're a very, very good writer.
Oh, thank you.
But what was one of the most interesting, or the most interesting part that you found out about the Lakers?
Oh man, I just love this sort of, to me, the Jack McKinney page of the Lakers, pre-Pat Riley, pre-Paul Westhead. The idea that there's this coach very few people remember who flipped over his bike handles and changed the course of Laker history blew my mind. And going to Florida before Jack McKinney passed and sitting across from him and speaking with him still stays with me to this day. Truly does.
And it's really amazing what Jerry Buss did, because he started the whole thing.
Oh, And he was the guy, the NBA today, when you go to an NBA game, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but the music and the cheerleaders, and you can't have a second to think.
Yeah.
But that all comes from Jerry Buss saying, this is entertainment. This is not just a basketball game. We can't just have them come to play basketball. We have to have people come and experience a Disney-like environment. That is all Jerry Buss.
I remember when he was interviewing with the NBA, and the NBA, he said, we're going to have cheerleaders. And they said, NBA doesn't have cheerleaders. He said, they do now.
Exactly. Exactly.
And he said, we got the USC band. And they said, well, no, we don't have bands at our basketball games. Well, we do now.
He is, to me, the most influential cultural figure in the history of the NBA, and I'm not sure there's a close second.
And look at what he did, and not only that on the court, but off the court, what they do in our communities as well right now.
It's amazing. How would Jerry Buss feel if you were watching the Lakers today?
Oh,
yeah, no.
Some of the guys wouldn't be on the team, that is for sure.
They were not.
It is the latest book called The Last Folk Hero, The Life and Myth of One Bo Jackson. Can't thank you enough for coming by and being with us. And I got to get you to autograph this book for me because I want to make sure I keep this from them. That's for sure.
Appreciate it.
Okay, that is absolutely amazing. Jeff Pearlman, thank you so much. All right, everybody, stay right where you are because still to come on this edition of Sports Central. How about football? The Chargers hope to continue their winning ways as they get set to take on the 49ers tomorrow. We'll look ahead to what matchups they will have on this Sunday Night Football. And the Rams are hoping to turn things around as they host the Cardinals tomorrow. We'll have the latest on quarterback Matthew Stafford and his status for the game. All that and more when we come back right here on CBS 2.
Play of the Day, sponsored by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa.
Here comes Irvine. Alyssa Moore. Martin fell down. Moore splits the defense. Moore looking to put it away. She does! Irvine up 2-0. Lightning strikes twice for UC Irvine.
Last one for you. What is Chris's creative outlet? What does he like to do in his spare time to feel creative?
Video games.
Video games? That was quick. No, painting and decorating.
That is a lie. You're making that up. You're making that up. You just made that up for the show. No, bro. Like, no. You only play video games all the time.
That's not my creative outlet. That's my competitiveness.
What do you do in your free time? Okay. Your competitiveness is a video game?
I like to paint.
When's the last time you painted something?
It's the other day.
Yeah, you're a lie,
Let's go, Chase.
Bro.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah, another episode of Chargers HQ premieres tonight on CBS 2. And among a whole lot of fun stuff, that is for sure. The show features backup quarterback Chase Daniel asking trivia questions to teammates Chris Rumph and Trey McKitty. You can see it all tonight at 6:30. Speaking of the Chargers are getting the primetime treatment tomorrow as they take on the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday Night Football. And though they've been banged up, we all know that, the Chargers really continue to win. An undermanned Chargers squad went into Atlanta last week and came through as new kicker Cameron Dicker booted the game-winning field goal as time expired, moving the Chargers to a record of 5-3 on the season. Now they get set for another road game against the San Francisco 49ers tomorrow. And our Chris Hayrie caught up with the Chargers defensive lineman Sebastian Joseph Day today.
All right, joined by defensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day as the Chargers get set for San Francisco. And Sebastian, always feels like there's a little extra juice for a nationally televised game. Did you feel that in practice this week?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the juice has been there. Guys been flying around, and we're super excited to compete against a great team.
How important was that Atlanta win in terms of momentum and kind of carrying that over into these next 2 weeks?
Oh, it was very important. A lot of guys stepped up that game. And I think that was honestly a great confidence builder to a lot of those guys that did step up in those roles that were, being filled. And, we're just really excited to continue to just take it one play at a time and keep rolling.
You know this Niners team from your time with the Rams. They had Christian McCaffrey. They got Deebo Samuel. They got Kittle. They got Ayuk. What's the biggest challenge? Where do you start?
I think the biggest challenge will just probably start by trying to not stop them because, there's so many great players on that team, but just try finding ways to win those close battles that you need to win in order to have success later in the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about football, As long as you start fast, you give yourself a chance, and I think that's the biggest thing you got to do this game.
Yeah, the biggest key, maybe turning the ball over, getting turnovers against this offense. Is that something you guys can see come in droves here the back half of the season?
I think in general, it doesn't matter what team you play. Turnovers are a huge thing in general. You want to create turnovers and you want to protect the ball if you're on offense. So, that's always like a no-brainer for defense to always try to find a way to get the offense back the ball,
Yeah. Good luck, man.
Thank you all, man. Appreciate it.
The Chargers looking to prove to 6-3 on the year.
And we're going to have all the highlights for you when what happens to them right here on CBS 2. Now, Joseph Day and the Charger defense limiting the Falcons to just 17 points as a unit. That speaks volumes for how this team is really trying to turn things around with all the injuries that they have.
Absolutely, I definitely agree, especially when their offense is struggling the way that they have. They have a ton of defense of talent, and a lot of different from all phases, from the D-line to the linebackers to the safeties. They have a lot of talent to be able to create turnovers and create, make it difficult for offenses to come here to come.
And, of course, when you talk about the injury factor, the injuries have really hit the wide receivers. But one Joshua Palmer is really stepping up big time.
We spoke about him last week. I think that he's doing a great job stepping in for all the top receivers. I think he was like the number 3 receiver at one time, and he's stepping in as the number 1 guy. And he's barely been coming into place and taking a lot of heat off of Hibbert.
And, of course, when you have a quarterback like Herbert, I mean, he will get the ball to you no matter where you are, and that really helps him as well, his confidence.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then you have to be able to bring in Eckler as well, for him to be able to establish the running game and create these passing lanes and these play-action passes to where they can be able to attack him and make it easier for Palmer.
Okay, we're going to have talk about something else right now and talk about the defending Super Bowl champions. As for the Rams, the reigning Super Bowl champions are really struggling. We all know that. They're struggling right now, dropping 4 of their last 5 games. The latest loss last week was in the final seconds to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers that lowered their record to an extremely disappointing 3-5 on the season. And we found out this week that quarterback Matthew Stafford is in concussion protocol and questionable for Sunday's game against Arizona. So the Rams are dealing with a whole lot of controversy heading into Sunday's contest.
As far as the exact level in the protocols, really, I let those guys kind of just tell me, hey, he's making good progress. We're going to leave the door open, and that's why you see him listed as questionable. Could go all the way up until 90 minutes before kickoff, because when you've got a guy that's a veteran player like him, you're not going to risk at all we're not going to skip any steps, so I don't want that to be misunderstood, but I think it would be silly of me to rule him out when you're talking about our quarterback, the guy that, means so much to us, if there's a possibility while not being able to risk him, and that's kind of where we're at with that.
And when you think about it, Stafford and the Rams just not even close to where they were at this point last season, though through 8 games, I should say. In 2021, he already had 22 touchdown passes compared to just 8 touchdown passes so far this year. And, of course, passing yards also way down, just like everything else for Stafford and the Rams this year. When we think about this team, a huge struggle for the Rams and their offense this season, and whether Stafford plays on Sunday will be determined very close to kickoff time tomorrow. And so everybody is pretty much on edge, and I'm sure they have 2, 3, maybe 4 game plans, depending on what he can do.
I think for the most part, it shows how much we really miss Whitworth. The captain up front really established a lot of the different calls and the different slide protections that help out Stafford a lot, that created a lot of the big-time plays that we had last year. So this year, we're struggling on the run game. We're depleted on the injury side of it. So we're just trying to get our footing back. And I think that once we get a win and start getting a little confidence back, things will start changing.
But the big fellas up front, that's where a lot of the
that's ridiculous.
That's where a lot of the problems come in, because when you take out an All-Pro and you take out all of those kinds of people, that really leaves you suspect, and the opposition knows that.
Absolutely. I think we talked about it early on in our segment. We spoke about having that X or a target on your back. These are the defending Super Bowl champs. So everybody's going to give you their all. Everybody's going to come try to take you down. And with that being said, with the injuries and not having the same firepower as last year, it makes it difficult to get these type of wins.
Just trying to go from day to day. That is it for the Rams. Still to come, my friends, here on this edition of Sports Central. We will welcome in Sierra Canyon to our studio after they knocked off the top seed Sierra yesterday in the Division II playoffs. Stay tuned for that and our chat with the Trailblazers when we come back, and much more college football, including more struggles for Alabama as they battle Ole Miss. That and more when we come back right here on CBS 2.
Charged Up, sponsored by Action Ion Charged Alkaline Water.
High school football playoffs yesterday as Sierra Canyon and Sarah faced off in the Division II quarterfinals, and it was the Dave Dunn show. How about that? For the Trailblazers, the sophomore running back had 5 touchdowns as Sierra Canyon went on to win 42-16. They take on Bishop Amat next week in the semifinals. And of course, Coach John Ellinghaus and defensive lineman Cameron Brandt join us here in the studio to talk about the big win. And it was big and even more so for you, wasn't it, Coach?
Oh, it was a great win for us, and we had a little bit of a rough start to our season. Really proud of the way our kids just kept fighting, kept showing up, and we've got it going now, so we're really excited.
Kevin, let's talk about the rough start that Coach was talking about at the beginning of the season and how you overcame that.
So yeah, we definitely had a rough start in the beginning, but we overcame that by just sticking together. Nobody got on each other. We all just banded together. We knew we were going to get it done, and that's what we did.
And one of the cool things about Cameron is one of the big fellows in the trenches for this team, and you're heading to Stanford. I'd like for you to talk about why you're heading to Stanford.
I'm heading to Stanford because academics was really big on me just throughout life. Just that's always been pushed. So I've always wanted to do academics, just have high academics and also play at a high level. So that's why I chose Stafon.
Coach, doesn't that give you just goosebumps to know that your players turn out to be great players, but they want to be outstanding students and citizens?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Our school at Sierra Canyon, these are the type of guys we like to put out, smart young men that are great on the football field and ready to go out and attack life, because at some point football ends for all of us, and he's the best of the best, and we're really proud of him. One of the things I like is when coaches come in, I like to talk about coach to coach.
Absolutely, man. So, Coach, I just wanted to just have a quick question. I mean, basically, being from a school that's predominantly ran by somewhat of the basketball side of it, what are some things that you had to do to try to change the culture and change the mindset of the kids, especially when you say early on you had a rough start, but being able to come through and have a great win like you did last night? What are some of the things that you did to kind of help them buy into the culture?
I got to say, we at our school, our programs all support one another.
Absolutely.
And, our basketball program has had a lot of success, and our football team's had a lot of success. We've made the semifinals 10 of the last 12 years, and we just support one another, and it's a place where you can come get a great education, and the kids that are there are great at what they do, whether it's basketball. Our girls basketball team's phenomenal. Our girls volleyball team's playing in the state championship tonight. So we've got great sports programs. They all support one another, and that's the best thing about where we work.
And they have great coaching too. That also goes into it. You better believe it. All right, Coach. Bishop Amat is next. How do you size up this matchup? Because we know this is going to be an even tougher task for you and your squad.
Yeah, no doubt. This was our first year in the Mission League, which is a really, really tough league, and we were really excited for the first year to be able to win the Mission League. Bishop Amat is known as one of the best programs around, and we got a lot of respect for them. We had a dogfight with them. We lost in double overtime by 3 points. So, we're familiar with them, but we're also really excited to go out there and it's the semifinals. There's nothing better.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm watching you as I'm listening to Coach, and you're saying, yeah. It's almost like you can hardly wait. We know that you got to go through the process and the practice and things like that. Yeah. But how are you going to hold back your enthusiasm and your excitement because of what's going to happen at the end of the week?
There's no really holding it back. I feel like you got to show that excitement throughout practice, because that's what gets you through. You got to make sure all the guys feel that pressure and just know that we have a big game coming up and it's time to band together and get it done.
Are you surprised at all to be in the position you're in right now?
No, I'm not. Just based on just the guys we have around us and our team, just knowing how they are and just they're willing to get it done just in everything they do, and we're just going to push and keep going.
Coach, it's going to be a lot of fun watching him coach and watching him play.
Absolutely. I love the way that you guys took a lot of the athletes that Sarah had took them out of the ball game and used the ground game, man. It was real beautiful for me. I spoke to you about it earlier. So you can continue to take advantage of the ball, of the ground game, man. That was amazing to me.
Yeah, that's the type of brand of football we've tried to create is, physicality. And on the line of scrimmage, we've been able to do that. We got 2 great tailbacks in Dane Dunn and Terrell Cooks, and a great defense that made some phenomenal plays yesterday.
Too, huh?
Oh yeah, we're starting 12 sophomores and freshmen, so we're young. And we got some great leadership from some old guys that are great players as well. So we got a good mix here.
Thank both of you for coming, and good luck.
My pleasure.
And when you win, come on back and visit again. We'd love to have you.
I hope we can. Thank you so much.
That is for sure. All right, my friends, stay right where you are, because coming up next, another edition of the Boys in Blue as we catch up with former Dodger Daryl Thomas, who won the World Series with the Boys in Blue back in 1981. And in basketball, the Clippers hosting the Nets in a matinee performance this afternoon downtown. We'll have all that and more when we come back right here on CBS 2. And welcome back, everybody. The Clippers unveiled their new city uniforms today against Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets. We pick it up in the first quarter. The Clippers are down 17-10. Paul George with a nice step-back jumper, and the Clippers are down by 5 points. We go to the second quarter now. The Clippers are down 29-22. Reggie Jackson finds Ivica Zubac for the slam, and the Nets lead at 54-50 at halftime. Into the third quarter, Norman Powell gets the bucket to go up 75-71. Favor the Nets as they start the fourth period. But the fourth quarter belonged to Brooklyn and Seth Curry. Nets lead at 93-88. He buries the three-pointer, extending their lead to 8 points. Next, Nets possession, Curry with the step-back three. And look at this. His older brother, Steph, was right there. 22 points for Curry. A 10-0 run gives the Nets the lead for good. They go on to win by a score of 110-95. In Major League Baseball, Daryl Thomas played 15 years in the big leagues, highlighted by 5 seasons with the Dodgers, including that World Series championship in 1981. It was a dream come true for the Los Angeles native, and I sat down with Thomas for this week's edition of the Boys in Blue.
Boys in Blue, sponsored by Capozio Buick GMC.
Let's talk just a little bit about Daryl Thomas, the baseball player, before you came to the Dodgers.
Being born and raised in L.A., graduate of Dorsey High School, it was my dream to play for the Dodgers. I used to sneak into Dodger Stadium. Jim, I worked at Dodger Stadium before I even signed to play professional baseball. And I sold Bubble Up in the very top deck of Dodger Stadium. When they had the crates, you had to carry the crates around and you open it with the can opener, pour it in the cup, give them the cup, put the bottle back in there.
What was your proudest moment as a member of the Dodgers?
Standing out by the Dodger offices in 1979 after signing my contract with the Dodgers to play for LA. That was my most, I finally felt that I had arrived in Major League Baseball to be able to play for the Dodgers.
But what about on the field, your proudest moment?
On the field, my proudest moment was giving Tommy a heart attack on a ball that I used to use on the basket catch. And one of the umpires said, "Hey, how low can you catch the ball?" I said, "Well, I can catch about 6 inches off the ground." He said, "No, you can't do that." I said, "Sure, watch. The next ball hit that it has to be the right ball. I'm going to do it for you." Next thing you know, we're playing the Reds, and I think Pete Rose might have hit the ball. Fly ball, weak fly ball, right center field. And I go there, I tap my glove 3 times, which was my signature, 3 times, and then boom, drop it down, And Tommy went cuckoo. And I just had to start laughing while I was running into the dugout because I knew he was going to cuss me out as soon as I got in there. But it was fun. I had a great time.
And did he use some words of profanity at you?
Well, we won't go into that. We'll kind of leave that in the closet right now.
Welch continues to throw in the Los Angeles bullpen. Watson hits it high in the air. For the center fielder, Ken Landreau, this should do it. The Dodgers are the 1981 champions of baseball.
There's another thing that I'd like to talk to you about, and that is winning the whole thing.
That was a big upset for the Yankee fans. They started leaving about the 6th inning, We wanted to win the whole thing and finally had a chance to get the Yankees. Since the Yankees beat the Dodgers in 77 and 78, and I told Tommy in 1978, the only way you're going to beat them Yankees is to get me on this team. And Tommy started laughing, and Al Campanis was sitting right there listening to everything I said to Tommy. Next thing you know, in 1981, he came up to me, Al Campanis, and said, I remember what you told Tommy in 1978. And that was one of my most proud moments.
But you also know how lucky you were, and still right now, how lucky you are.
Oh, I'm blessed, Jim. I'm telling you, I am blessed. I was blessed to have the opportunity to play professional baseball. I was blessed for an opportunity to have my dream come true as playing for the Los Angeles Dodgers and also having a chance to win a world championship with the team that I grew up as a fan. And Maury Wills was my idol. That's why I wore the number 30. And I was very, very, very blessed.
And he was one heck of a player, that is for sure. More college football for you now, my friends. And not the best season for Alabama. They've lost 2 of their last 3 games, including last week to LSU. And they had their struggles today against Ole Miss. Here we go to Oxford for a battle between Nick Saban and his former offensive coordinator and Lane Kiffin. Remember him, Trojan fans? Third quarter, game is tied at 17. Jackson Dart finds a Jonathan Mingo for the 3-yard touchdown. Ole Miss leads at 24-17. Alabama marching back down the field now late in the third. Bryce Young doing what he does best. He finds Ja'Cory Brooks for the touchdown. The game is all tied now at 24. The Rebels trail 30-24 with 2 minutes left. And Stafon, they're going to run the ball.
Yeah, they did a great job of taking control of the ball, of the ground game, and be able to get some points, so get some yards and points on the ground.
And then after 3 failed tries, Ole Miss has 4th and 16 from the 20-yard line, but Dart is unable to complete the pass. Alabama wins it 30-24, and Saban is surely happy to beat Kiffin in this one. That is for sure. Meanwhile, the 8-1 Tennessee Volunteers hosting the Missouri Tigers today. Tennessee leads 14-7 in the second quarter. Hendon Hooker finds Princeton Fink right here, 18-yard touchdown to extend their lead to 21-7. The first touchdown of the season for the senior tight end. The Tigers just wouldn't give up, trailing 28-17 in the third quarter. Brady Cook completes it deep to Dominic Lovett for the 38-yard touchdown. Missouri trails 28-24. And the Volunteers would march back down the field. Hooker finds Jalen Hyatt for a 68-yard touchdown. Stafon, how about that Tennessee duo?
Man, Hooker definitely wanted to double back and get these guys the way that they had. They had 15 touchdowns amongst the half and tied with 6 most in the SEC right now.
What a play by them. And Missouri would not score the rest of the game. The Volunteers cruise on to an easy 66-24 victory. All right, my friends, stay right where you are. Still to show you on Sports Central. It's time for Studs and Duds. And you won't believe what happened with a pair of pick sixes today in the Virginia-Pitt game. That craziness and more when we come back right here on CBS 2. All right, don't forget, everybody, the NFL is back on CBS 2 tomorrow as the Kansas City Chiefs host the Jacksonville Jaguars. That will be at 10 o'clock in the morning. Sports Central, of course, will have all the highlights and more starting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, live on the road. All right, now it's time for some studs and duds. You're going to love this, that's for sure. And we're going to start with a stud of a catch today by Notre Dame's Braden Lindsey against Navy. Look at this. He hauled in the touchdown catch, going around the defender's back and somehow bringing it around. That's unheard of and unseen.
I mean, we heard of the touchdown with the helmet, but that was some real. Took a lot of concentration and. Man, a lot of ball controls, a lot of stuff that was good on that play right there.
That's why they call him the Fighting Irish. He was fighting for that one all the way.
That's right.
Yeah, but how about this dud? One of the worst starts to a game by a quarterback you can have. As Virginia quarterback Brennan Armstrong threw 2 pick sixes on the first 2 snaps he takes against Pitt. The Panthers had a 14-0 lead in the first 16 seconds of the game, and Virginia lost 37-7.
I think the quarterback just forgot that he was starting the game. I think he felt like it was still practice because he threw those right to the defenders on the other side. And you can't start the game off like that, especially 14-0, and you playing behind the sticks now. It's not going to be a good thing.
And a great stud to finish off today as the Ohio State receiver Cameron Babb catches the first pass of his career while also scoring the first touchdown of his career, all on the same play. And talk about a long road back to get to this point, as the 5th-year senior has suffered 4 ACL tears at Ohio State. That's incredible for him, incredible what he has come back from as far as the injuries are concerned.
Great resilience, young man, way not to give up and show that you have pride in yourself, pride in your family, pride in your football team, and great job by the medical staff of getting this kid back out here. It's a wonderful thing to have a story. It's nothing like success without having a story.
And it's really nice, and it's wonderful seeing his teammates being happy for him.
They knew exactly what it was about. They knew exactly where his passion was, how he felt. That's a beautiful feeling right there, man. It feels good to come back off of an injury. I know that things personally, to be able to play after an injury and not knowing all the things that came about beforehand that everybody told you wouldn't happen, to have 4 ACLs and come back like that, man, that's huge.
And that's a good way to end it, and that's going to do it for this edition of Sports Central Saturday. I'm Jim Hill saying thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time right here on CBS 2. So long, everybody.